Namaskar. A very warm welcome to all of you to this 103-year-old organization, Maharashtra Mandal. While this building and auditorium may not be as old, it has its own long enough history. Over the last more than 5 decades, this stage has hosted actors, artists, authors, playwrights, filmmakers, sports stars, soldiers, governors, chief ministers, industrialists, social workers, thinkers and doers on different occasions. But it would be a rare occasion for this stage too to find seated together eminent personalities from as diverse fields as we are going to have here today. We are going to have one very popular and revered novelist and literator, one lawyer and economist, and an army man. Bringing all these interesting people together is the duo behind the book that will be released today. The author of Ghatsutra, who is himself a multifaceted personality, is accompanied by a diabetologist and orator who translated his original Marathi work into English. On behalf of the Maharashtra Mandal Bengaluru, I am delighted to welcome this eclectic mix of wonderful minds. Let me call upon Shri Deepak Karanjikar to kindly come to the stage. His partner in crime, Dr Neeta Deshpande, also is expected to be here very soon. Her flight got a bit delayed, but she is on her way and she will be here. Deepak and Dr. Neeta are the reason why we all have assembled here today. May I now request Shri Onkar Sangoram, the President of Maharashtra Mandal, to usher to the stage our chief guest of the day, Padma Bhushan Shri S L Bhyrappa. A hearty welcome, sir. The Doyen of Kannada literature, 94-year-old, one and only Shri S L Bhyrappa. Give him a big welcome. He's come from Mysore only for this event. Thank you so much, sir. I now call upon Shri Vinayak Kauthekar, the President of Maharashtra Nivas Building Trust, to bring our other guest, Lieutenant General Sudarshan Hasabnis, to the podium. Thank you. There is a third guest as well, who is not physically present here among us, but he is joining us through Zoom call. And I think he's already logged in. I can see him on the screen here, though I think it will take some time for the projector to light up there. But welcome, Mr. Dr. M.R. Venkatesh. Thank you for your online presence. Now that all the dignitaries are here on the stage, let us begin with lighting of the auspicious lamp. I will request all the guests to kindly proceed towards the lamp, please. Now we are going to have the invocation song by Miss Savani Sangoram. I would also request Shri Sandeep Limaye, the former Vice President of the Maharashtra Mandal, to come to the stage.
Check. Vakratunda मनातील चित्त तू चराचरातील नित्य तू मनातील चित्त तू चराचरातील नित्य तू विश्वामधले सत्य तू सत्व तू मोरया 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 कृपा दयाळा मोरया 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 कृपाळा दयाळा मोरया 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 थँक्यू
Thank you, Savani. Thanks, gentlemen. We are privileged to have all of you here with us. On behalf of everyone in the audience, we will now felicitate our esteemed guest. Shri Omkar Sangoram will now honor our chief guest, Shri S L Bhyrappa. Shri S L Bhyrappa is a novelist, philosopher, and screenwriter who is very popular in Karnataka and is widely regarded as one of modern India's most popular novelists. His novels are unique in terms of theme, structure, and characterization. He has been among the top-selling authors in Kannada, and his books have been translated into other Indian languages as well. And those books have also been bestsellers. He is a recipient of Sahitya Akademi Award, Saraswati Samman, Padma Shri, Sahitya Akademi Fellowship, National Research Professor, and Padma Bhushan. Bhyrappa avare, tamge swagata. I now call upon Mr. Vinayak Kauthekar to felicitate our guest, Lieutenant General Sudarshan Hasabnis. Lieutenant General Hasabnis, a decorated officer with Param Vishisht Seva Medal, to recognize the distinguished service of the most exceptional order, as also the Vishisht Seva Medal. He was aide-de-camp and the Deputy Chief of Army Staff, Planning and Systems from June 2018 to December 2020. He has now retired and is settled in Pune. A hearty welcome and salute to you, sir. I now request Mr. Sandeep Limaye to formally welcome our next guest, who is online, Dr. M.R. Venkatesh. We can't physically felicitate him, but Dr. Venkatesh is a fellow chartered accountant, advocate, and a renowned economist. He deals on matters related to economic criminal laws and is acknowledged in the field of anti-money laundering laws. He has been awarded doctorate for his thesis on evaluating the impact of minimum support price and input subsidies on the farm sector in the 4 southern states of India. He has also authored various books and is a respected panelist in leading prime time shows on national television in India. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Venkatesh. Please take your seats. Sirs, all the dignitaries have received a memento from the Maharashtra Mandal. The memento is a replica of one of the first Marathi inscriptions, dating to more than 1,000 years ago. This Marathi inscription is found near the foot of the statue of Bahubali at Shravanabelgola in Karnataka, a clear indicator of the long-standing sisterhood that Kannada and Marathi languages and their speakers have enjoyed. The noble sentiment that Maharashtra Mandal Bengaluru respects, cherishes, and strives to preserve. I now call upon Shri Onkar Sangora, the President, to say a few words on behalf of the Maharashtra Mandal Bengaluru.
Good evening all. As Shashi was saying, Maharashtra Mandal is 103 years young. Not old institution, it's 103 years young institute. Thousands of Marathi members are part of Maharashtra Mandal family. Yeah, we all get together, we celebrate festival, we celebrate art, we celebrate literature, we celebrate theatres, we celebrate music. Right? This stage of ours has been a launch pad for many of the local artists here in Bangalore. We connect and collaborate with the various business fraternities. We also help finding the life partner through our matrimony. So all in all, I used to say that in Singapore, you have a little India. Similarly in Bangalore, we have this little Maharashtra. That is our Maharashtra Mandal. Yeah, with this rich legacy of 103 years, many eminent personalities have visited Maharashtra Mandal. Personally, I was pleasantly delighted or shocked when I got to know that Swatantra Veer Vinayak Damodar Savarkar has visited this place, the place where we are all gathered together. To name a few, Sir Girish Karnad ji has visited this place. Uma Kulkarni ji has translated a lot of Bhyrappa sir's book in Marathi. So she also visited here. In this year, 2023, Chief Justice of Karnataka, Mr. Varale sir visited here. Then Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Eknath Shinde, Industries Minister Uday Samanji, they visited us. Recently, a famous dietitian whose name has become a synonym with the diet, Dikshit diet. So Dr. Jagannath Dikshit visited here, and today we have Deepak Karanjikar ji, Bhyrappa ji, Hasabnis ji, and Venkatesh sir joining online. So the journey of eminent personality visiting us continues. Okay. Maharashtra Mandal also commemorate two awards which are presented yearly. One is Abhiman Puraskar and one is Yogadan Puraskar. Abhiman Puraskar, we honor, through Abhiman Puraskar, we honor the personalities who are in Karnataka, who are in Bangalore, who have contributed towards the social betterment, right? And Yogadan Puraskar is given to the personalities who have contributed to the growth of Maharashtra Mandal. Just to name a few Abhiman awardees, sir. Rohini Nilekani is our Abhiman Puraskar awardee. Then we have Rahul Dravid, then Vikramji Kirloskar, and also the famous author Sania. Sania, we have honored her with Abhiman Puraskar. Saraswati Tai Risbud, she is again a great literaturist. I think she has translated close to 14 books from Marathi to Kannada. So that great work she has done. So overall, if you see this growth of 103 years and the nourishment what we have seen in Maharashtra Mandal, we believe that literature has contributed and immensely into this growth of Maharashtra Mandal. As a part of Maharashtra Mandal, we have a library which has got thousands of books. We have close to 9 centers across the Bengaluru where these books are being distributed to the readers. Plus, we also have a digital groups as Abhivakti and Kitab Khana. That's where all these Sahitya Premis come together, they collaborate, they share their content. Sanavivi. Sanavivi is our monthly magazine which is being released every month for last 35 years. Not even 1 month we missed it. So this we also have a radio Sanavivi. So readers and listeners both are catered to for their literature requirements. This Sanavivi has given an amazing platform to the authors here in Bangalore. So overall, if you see at Maharashtra Mandal ecosystem, we have got a good ecosystem of not only the authors but also a very capable readers. And it's our honor and privilege today to host this function to do the book launch of English edition of Ghatsutra. So thanks a lot. That's a brief overview of Maharashtra Mandal. Maharashtra Mandal has got 2 institutes. One is Maharashtra Mandal, which is a social cultural arm, and second is MNBT, that is Maharashtra Mandal Nivas Building Trust, which looks after this wonderful second home of ours. So I would request Mr. Vinayak Kautekar to share a few words about MNBT. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. All the dignitaries on the stage. Just I will say a few words, as Omkar has said, about the Maharashtra Nivas Building Trust. Maharashtra Mandal is 103 years old organization. After the construction of this building, which happened maybe 30-40 years down the line, a need was felt that there should be a little long-term body to look after this building. So a trust was formed in 1958, and Mrs. Indutai Kirloskar was one of the founder trustees. So the basic work and we are now about 10 trustees. We look after basically the maintenance and renovation of this building. Omkar has already told. And we basically this is found to support the Maharashtra Mandal also. We have some rooms here wherein the people come for official work, mostly from Maharashtra or the bordering areas of Karnataka and Maharashtra. We provide accommodation here in a nominal charges. So that is all about trust. And as I said, since it is found in 1958, trust has completed now 65 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Kautekar. Ghatsutra invites you on a captivating voyage through time. delving into the intricate interplay of politics, power, and human resilience. This meticulously crafted narrative chronicles a turbulent and transformative timeline spanning from the early 20th century to the present day, where the titans of business clashed and the world was forever altered. The voyager who is taking us on this intriguing and exciting journey is Shri Deepak Karanjikar, a renowned management consultant, a film and TV actor and director, metamorphosis coach, socio-economic expert, visiting faculty at many business schools, chairperson for the National Mission for Cultural Mapping of the Ministry of Culture, independent director on the board of Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, and last but not the least, the author of 4 books, including Ghatsutra. Now is the time to hear straight from the writer's mouth about what he has written. Please come over, Deepak. The lectern is all yours.
Respected dais and all my Bangalore friends. I understand it's ironical to have a speech in English for a Marathi Mandal. But that is my fault because I said the book is in English, so the speeches should be in English. So blame it on me, not on Mandal. I'm very thankful to Maharashtra Mandal for doing this. I'm very grateful. My gratitude goes to Shri S L Bhyrappa ji. At this age, at this stature, he could find some time for a small man like me. My gratitude to you, Bhyrappa ji. My heartfelt gratefulness goes to Lieutenant General Hasabnis, a man of high stature in military fields, a very honorable man. He came all the way skipping his son-in-law's birthday for this program. And I remain, sir, I will remain this throughout my life. Of course, my gratitude goes to all of you and Maharashtra Mandal office bearers, my friends Sandeep, Onkar, Shashi, and all their colleagues, and Mukul Ratnaparki, because of whom this program is possible today. It was Tuesday, 9/11. I was going out from my apartment to go to the job in New York. And suddenly a plane hit the World Trade Center, South Tower. It was 8:45 in the morning, a rush time to go to office. And the announcement came following it that all tubes going to Liberty Park or New York are closed. American President then George W. Bush sitting in a school in Florida. Some FBI officer entered the room, he was in a school, and murmured in his ear about what happened. He looked at him and the program continued. 15 minutes later, another plane hit the North Tower. Again, the person enters to George W. Bush and says, and then he gets up and issues an ordinance that all the planes in American skies should be landed immediately. United States of America has around 19,000 airstrips, and there were 5,700 plus planes in the air skies, in the airspace that time. So they were all ordered to land a nearby airstrip as a president ordinance. In US, president ordinance is the highest order, which cannot be challenged. Still they found 11 planes are not landing. So another ordinance issued by president saying that 3 F-16 fighter jets will enter the airspace and blow the planes off in the air which are not listening to the orders of president. Because there was a danger of they crashing over some monument. In between, two planes crashed, one on Pentagon southeast corner and the other in the Pennsylvania jungle. The entire America was stunned because this was happening after 56 years on US land. That some planes, not of enemies, or there is some terrorist attack has happened. All airspace was closed except for two planes, one carrying Saudi king families, another carrying whom we still don't know. They left the United States airspace and went to Middle East. There is no other movement in the sky for next 4 days. Wall Street was never quiet as that before, 200 years before, it was never quiet that way. Wall Street is a buzz place. I worked there, I know. Very silent. शोले में कहता है ना इतना सन्नाटा क्यों है भाई? That kind of situation was in entire New York. The entire New York was in depression. 2,700 people died. On the fourth day of this incident, which was Friday, suddenly the rescue were stopped. API entered the place, the ground zero which we call it today. All activities were stopped and 7 big container trucks entered there. Nobody knew what they did. They were there for more than 9 hours and then they left the place and the rescue operation started after 23 hours. The fire brigade chief, the internal security chief were requesting all the time that let us not stop the operation, whatever may be the urgent work, because there are some people still alive under that, the complete, the building trash. So we will rescue them first. It was not listened to. So there was a complete dust in the air and there was complete confused air around. That why this not? And still they were not able to find till Friday night. Who did this? There were speculations going on. On a Larry King live channel on CNN, Larry King live show, one of the analysts said, we are not able to find anyone yet. We are clueless about this biggest terrorist attack on United States and we are mighty military and we are mighty, spy agencies in the world. We have zillions of dollars budget on them, what they do. Maybe it's Bin Laden, maybe it's somebody else, we don't know. Maybe it's Saddam. And next day morning, 2:35 in the morning, which was, I think, midday in Middle East, Bin Laden took the responsibility for this attack. One of my colleagues, when that happened, we were having a meeting in our apartment, a conference call with various officers that who is there outside, because I had in our company had around 6,000 employees, and who's were in that plane, what happened. We were inquiring with every employee, calling practically every office all over the world. So that call happened, it was noon on 9/11. We came down from that building. My friend, who is American friend, very close friend to me, and he and me, we were just thinking of eating something. Of course, human beings are same everywhere. There were on the street, free food was delivered. People are giving some drinks on the street so that people should be relieved. People were talking on the street. And he said, let us go to Subway. I said, fine. Because I wanted to understand an American reaction to this, that what exactly happened and how Americans react for a terrorist attack. We will not have this curiosity for an Indian because for us it was daily affair till 2014, not after that. So it's an accepted norm in India. It was not there though. So I was very curious to ask for him, how you feel? I could not ask that question in the meeting because that would have been a very unmannered, that would have been a very arrogant. So we sat in Subway, ordered a half-inch sandwich, half-fit sandwich. We ate that quietly for 25 minutes. Neither I asked any question, neither he answered. His face was a poker face. He was looking outside window. Food finished, we got up, we left. In the parking lot, he raised his hand and said, wait. He came to me near my car and he said, how much money do you have to spare? I said, maybe 70, 80K. Okay, I'm going to call 10 of our friends now. We'll raise a pool of $2 million. And I said, and what? And then what we'll do? Because I thought it's a very nice gesture on my part being there to help the country if they are raising some fund to help people, right? He said, no, when the Wall Street opens, I'm going to buy the shares of the companies who make disaster recovery plan. And they will be doubled, tripled in a week's time. His car went off and I kept looking at his car and I said, what kind of thought is this? If my country is attacked, will I think that how can I make profit? He is not a mafia, he is my regular friend, a normal American man. He is not Rothschild or Rockefeller or Morgan or Henry Kissinger or Bush. He is a normal American citizen, very honest, paying all taxes. How he can think like that? What makes him think like that? That was a question lingering in my mind. Of course, I did nothing. I did not contribute a dollar. He definitely raised $2 million, got 10 million after a week of those companies' shares sold. After that, something started triggering in my mind. Why? What kind of country is this? And then came Michael Moore with his film 9/11, Fahrenheit 9/11. And I seen him Washington DC on this Philadelphia street with a food trolley. On that he was sitting on that food truck, a mic in hand, and he was shouting, nobody has done this, we have done it, we let it happen, don't believe these politicians, all that. He was just hovering around near Capitol Hill. And police will come and tell him to get aside, sit quiet, don't make noise, and he will kept murmuring the same sentences again and again. The second bell rang. I said, why? You will not believe. I went back to my hometown after a week, and that weekend, I remember, weekend after 9/11, I was sitting at my house, in my house patio, and I was thinking, what is this? Why this country is not reacting the way they should? And suddenly then the president order came that we are attacking Iraq, Afghanistan, and we are getting Mullah Omar, because Bin Laden is with Mullah Omar. After 10 days, I have not written this. This has been written by John Stewart, Against All Enemies, John Woodward. His book name is Against All Enemies. And he says after 12 days, President shouts in the corridors of White House, let us get Saddam. And the same defense minister or same foreign minister, Colin Powell, asking him, why Saddam? He said, let us get Saddam, don't ask questions. The same Colin Powell justified the attack on Iraq in United Nations with the oath that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. The same Colin Powell, after getting down from the post after 7 years, written a book where he says, it was my mistake, it was wrong information. And I am guilty about it. Same Colin Powell. Dolan Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney was the vice president, Rumsfeld was the defense minister, they are part of Bush cartel. So this book mentions Bush family as the kingpins. The only family which has got, there are three families which father and son became president of the United States. This thought kept eating my mind. And I remember incidents 3 years before. In 1998, in a New York pub, I was sitting with my Swedish friend and I got late to that dinner. So he was talking to a German friend who was informing me about how they sang Titanic. And I was looking like, what? Because I had just seen then the romantic Titanic movie and went to US. And I said, what these people are talking? The American people have a habit of gossiping on everything. He's saying Titanic was sank? What nonsense. So he just said, keep quiet, let me finish with him. I'm not talking to you. He took up the tissue paper, wrote 3 books' name on that and gave it to me and said, read this. Then we will on the same page, we will talk. I remember this when this 9/11 happened, and I started searching that tissue paper in my laptop back then. Fortunately, I got it. I started to search that book. I could not get it. I got only one book after a month in various public libraries of New York, Washington DC, and even the California where I used to stay. But somehow I got those books to some sites, to some friends' input. I read those books and they were mentioning the same. And that was a journey for me to read 482 books and spending 7 years to write this book. This book covers a period of, the Marathi book covers period of 108 years. 104 years. It covers from Titanic to Trump disasters, tea disasters, I call them. And the English book covers, which is launched today, from Titanic to Corona, the biggest terrorist attacks of these 2 centuries. This book ends at Corona 2020, and they both start at 9,912. After 8 years of that, this Maharashtra Mandal got established. This is how the timeline runs in my mind always. So in those years, what happened? Titanic sank, Federal Reserve Bank was established, First World War started, Russian Revolution happened, First World War ended with a very terrific treaty on Germany, very insulting treaty for Germany. Then came 1930 Great Depression, then came Second World War, then came 1956 Bretton Woods Conference, where 2 mafia organizations were established. I very consciously call them mafia organization. One of the name World Bank, second is IMF. They have looted third world. They have looted the developing countries to a great extent in the framework of law. So the very important part is this happened. These 2 organizations came. Then the entire oil. Slippery world of oil, Middle East, the dollar game of Nixon, and the same Kissinger who died just 4 days ago. Dr. Henry Kissinger is one of the kingpin in this book. He is himself an organization. He established 6 organizations, 6. He is responsible for 12 American presidents to take oath. One of them was Lyndon Johnson, who took oath. When? In the airplane, Air Force One, at Dallas Airport, Dr. Kennedy got killed. What he did after taking oath, he went back to office. And the first thing in the evening in Oval Office of White House, he took back the ordinance issued by Kennedy, ordinance number 11001, and which was about printing the American currency note by American Treasury. He reversed that order. In between Titanic and First World War, there is an establishment of Federal Reserve Bank, which is a private bank. We have a very honorable speaker today, my friend Dr. Venkatesh. His son is not well, still he has that's a dedication, he has courage to join on the call, but not skipping this. I am grateful to you, Dr. Venkatesh. He will talk about that. But the Federal Bank entire machinery has created all these events. And I am not gossiping like that German friend. You will feel that. You have a right to feel that. Your jaws will fall like mine was that time. But that doesn't mean it was a gossip. What I read after he given me 3 books, I read the facts. Out of 482 books, 251 books which I read are against what I written in this book to make this balance. If I ask you some questions, if I tell you who Hitler hired for Holocaust, you will say, what nonsense question is that? German did the Holocaust, they killed 6 million Jews. There is a speech given by Hitler, which is mentioned in this book. He says, I do not have 6 million. He was not knowing 6 million numbers. I said, in the beginning he said, I do not have so many million soldiers to waste on these people. I do not have so many millions of bullets to waste on these people. I want them to die like a fly. Without much effort, they should die. They deserve death. So I will not give this job to German military. They are busy in big game of conquering countries. They will not waste their time for this. What they will do, I will hire a professional company and I will get this project done by that company. That project was a 6-phase project, conquering country. The only one project task was by German military or German, whatever we call the entire establishment of Air Force, military and navy. Second phase was identifying Jews in those countries. Third phase was de-identifying those Jews in those countries. Fourth one was giving them a unique alphanumeric ID and segregate them in various concentration camps. There was one phase in that alphanumeric ID was to get them segregated in gender, body mass index, age and all other things and have a data and then kill them one after other. And every day the report has to go to Hitler. The project in charge was his brother Himmler. He monitored the project every day. They hired a company to do this because Hitler also said, I do not want any other person to die in this war. Not a single person from any other ethnicity, but only Jews. And they made a contract of some $1 million to a company. Book mentions that company's name, but without staging your curiosity, I will tell you that company was IBM. The algorithm of the punch card, where the data was stored. You know the algorithm, the people above 60 must be remembering that there used to be a punch card in our companies. There were holes and it calls alphabeting machine which reads the punch. There are holes, there is a whole punch card with holes. And the punch card was given a name of Holorith, who was the founder of IBM. To give a company's founder name to such a man, people killing project is an honor or disrespect, I still not understood. Maybe you understand when you read the book. They signed the contract, they executed the contract. Even today, till as we are standing in this evening, IBM has not denied it. There is a book of Daniel Black on IBM and Holocaust. Please read that book. It has given entire methodology of getting data collected and reporting every day. Hitler used to get report every day. People have forgotten that now. It's a history, it's a 70, 80 years old story now. Then the oil politics. Then second question if I ask, who did 9/11? You will say Bin Laden. Let me tell you very clearly, Bin Laden has nothing to do with 9/11. And I am not Al-Qaeda supporter. I am not reporter of Al Jazeera. I am a Marathi writer. They have nothing to do with 9/11. The book says how. Please read that. These are the shocking, these are not the conspiracy theory. By the way, if anybody gets a feeling that these are the conspiracy theory I written book on, I must make it very clear. There is a documentary on Netflix or Amazon Prime which says Titanic was sunk or something, some title is there. I don't know whether it is there or not, but you will find the reference. The producer of that documentary is the people who made it sank. So it is like this. Suppose Sandeep kills me tomorrow and Shashi sees that. And Shashi start telling people that I have seen Sandeep killing Deepak. And then Sandeep is very disturbed and he is ignoring and then one day he finds it's making too much of discussion buzz now. So he will release a documentary saying that there is a conspiracy theory that Sandeep killed Deepak. And the generations after that will see that documentary and say this is a conspiracy theory. This is such a nonsense propaganda. We have 573 channels, 481 owned by these people. And I'm not trying to warn you, I'm trying to make you aware. Because for an educated man, for a literate man, I don't know is not an excuse. I may be saying I'm helpless, I can't do anything, but I was not aware is not an excuse we have. It's not a permission we have in our life if we are literate people. The people who are in surviving mode of life, thinking of what to eat in the evening and what to feed children tomorrow, we can't expect from them anything. But we, people like us who read, who are literate people, we must be aware, so I am making it aware. You may dig deeper in this and find out and tell me, no, this is not the thing, this is the thing. I am ready to accept. I am not drawing any line on stone. I am not a prophet. But I am that trigger, for sure. With pride I will say, not ego, but with pride, that I am a trigger which will make you scratch your head and think over it, and you can come up with different. But don't say this is conspiracy theory. Tell me what is the other story. Tell me that, because this has happened. 32 people have died after 9/11. 2 of them are senators. 17 of them are fire brigade. 12 of them are the whistleblowers of United States. They all died in vain. No inquiry. They all 32 people raise one question that tell us the truth about 9/11. Don't camouflage our knowledge by telling some story of Bin Laden or Al-Qaeda. Then you will ask me question, why Bin Laden took the responsibility? Yes, because Al-Qaeda's revenue multifolded 20 times in 1 month after that. Terrorist organizations, they are funded by the people who want the world to be restless, and they fund for that. That exactly happens when some terrorist organization takes the responsibility, their revenue flourish. That's a fact of life. So this book reveals all that. So I written that, I divided the entire incidences in, 1910 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 10 years gap, and I written down the incidents first. And then with the management theory, like they say, you have to ask 10 why. My time is over. 10 why. And then the 10th why gives you answer, who is responsible. You ask 10 why for all these incidences happen in that 104 or now 180 years. The answers will go to the same people. The same people group. Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Morgans, George Soros, Henry Kissinger, Bush family. And the questions will take you there. And that is what this book is all about in the 3 parts. One is the chronology of events from when Titanic was sunk, 4th April 1912, and Corona happened, March end 2020. In all 10 decades, you will find the answer who were behind this. Otherwise, there is no reason for Bill Gates' company to take patent, the company funded by Rothschild, of course, to take patent of a COVID family virus in 2016. And Bill Gates makes a presentation in December saying that there will be a big pandemic coming. You are in a city, technology city you live in. The big companies who make antivirus create viruses, right? So it's a motor generation set mechanism. I feed and I earn and I feed and I earn. So this book reveals all that to the extent possible with the references, no gossip, no fiction, no stories. It tells you a story of a money, how the bank is formed, and I think that is what all about it. So I wish you happy reading, and I am very much honored to have Bhyrappa ji, Hasabnis ji and Venkatesh ji to bless this book today in Bangalore, and with your presence, I take your leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak ji, for that overview. We have heard from one of the parents of the book, and we will wait for some more time to hear from the other parent later. So now this brings us all to the moment of the day. Yes, the release of Ghatsutra in English by our esteemed panel of guests. Thank you. For all the avid readers out there who are curious about Ghatsutra, I am pleased to announce that the book is available at a special discounted price of 600 rupees only on this occasion. Copies are available on the stall outside, so don't forget to grab your copy. Now, I am going to call upon Shri Bhyrappa to take the mic, as we all are very eager to listen to his words of wisdom. Shri Bhyrappa.
I congratulate the author of this book, Deepak Karanjikar, and the person who translated, Neeta Deshpande. You see, in Maharashtra, the people say Bhyrappa is a Marathi writer, Marathi author writing in Kannada. But it is not confined to writings, but it extends to love of Kannada, Marathi people for Bhyrappa. I give some concrete examples. There was a lady, Marathi lady, who was an MP, and her name was Poonam Mahajan. And this Poonam Mahajan was responsible for getting me national professorship. And this she asked in the parliament, saying, I am not a Kannada lady, I am a Marathi lady, but I am speaking for S L Bhyrappa. And that means, what has this government did to honor Bhyrappa? And the education minister at that time was Smriti Irani. And Smriti Irani said, I am thinking about it, please wait for a month and you will see. And within a month, central government appointed me as national professor. That is one. And another thing, there was a very great Marathi scholar by name Raji Dere. You know her name, his name. And he was given the honor of Pune, there is something. Huh? Yes, yes. And then the question arose that he should be given honor in the hands of the governor. And he said, I don't accept it. I am a scholar. I will accept only if it is given in the hands of a scholar. And then they said, how about the Chief Minister of Maharashtra? He said, I don't. Then he said, whom do you select? Whom do you want to give this honor to you? He said, there is a Kannada man by name S L Bhyrappa, and I want him to do this. And then his daughter, you know her, Aruna Dere. And in Sahitya Academy, Central Sahitya Academy, there was an honor called Fellow of Sahitya Academy. And to whom should we give? And she was a member of this General Council of Sahitya Academy. And whom shall we select? And immediately Aruna Dere said S L Bhyrappa. And all the North Indian members, there were 84 members, all the North Indian members said yes, yes, Bhyrappa, Bhyrappa. You can understand. None from Karnataka. So, that shows one thing, the nature of the Maharashtrians. Now, the organizer of this function today spoke to me one thing. He said, war, I am looking at this note now. Earlier I was never looking at this to speak because of my age. I cannot remember even ordinary things. That is why I have brought this note. He said, war speeds progress of science. War speeds progress of science and the economic development also. For the development of science and economic development, there must be war taking place. I think to some extent I agree with it, because nuclear physics developed during the Second World War. Otherwise, there would not be development of nuclear. It's not merely the nuclear bomb, but nuclear science also developed later on in the Second World War. Those of you who have read my novel Parva, you know this, that there are carpenters who were manufacturing rathas, war rathas. Our soldiers, our heroes were called rathikas. And they were prepared, they were doing, creating this war ratha. And Karna was the leaders of these people, Sutas. And Krishna comes to Kauravas, to meet the Kauravas, to see that war doesn't take place. Krishna wanted to bring, create peace. And these carpenters says, if war doesn't take place, what will happen to our economy? Therefore, see to it that war takes place. Now, there is another thing, very important thing here, that Duryodhana says in a certain situation, saying, don't say that I always hate the Pandavas. I need Pandavas because my brother, Duryodhana's brother, what is his name? No. Dushasana will start against me if there is no enemy. Therefore, we need an enemy. So, an enemy is required for the unity of a country. It is true if you take any developed countries or developed the countries like Europe and America, etc., this may not hold good, but it holds good in India. Now, you take right from the beginning, first the Arabs attacked India. They attacked India in a wave-like way, one after another. Then they went on. But this theory did not apply here because Indians did not unite themselves. And then the British came, and the British went on attacking India with a small number of people, and the Indians did not unite. And now in our country, every day we are threatened by China. But our Indians are they uniting India? Does India unite? No, it is not, because we are Indians. Now, one thing is, in this statement that war speeds progress of science it holds good only in some situations. But science develops even without war. Take for example, Newton's theory of relativity. Now, there was no war. He only saw a fruit falling down from a tree, and the idea came to his mind. That is peacetime. And also, you take the aeroplane. when aeroplane was created in a peacetime, but later on the aeroplane technically developed in a very speed during the First World War and further during the Second World War. But aeroplane is also very much used for these peace purposes. And in the same way, ships. Ships earlier was going, was moving through with the wind. But the ships, had, it became the machines. And with that, the Western countries came and won India because they had the ship. So, it is a very interesting thing that, anyway, so friends, I was asked to speak about my creativity and all that, but those of you who have read my autobiography, I have written there, and also I beg your pardon, I have to go to Mysore, it is getting late. I seek your permission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Bhyrappa Avare, sir, your sheer presence meant a lot to us, really. But your insights were also very interesting, right from the military-industrial complex during Mahabharata time to the Chinese threat. I think you have taken us on a very quick, enlightening journey. Thank you very much, sir, for coming all the way despite the health concerns. We consider ourselves blessed. Fortunately, the other parent I was talking about of the book is now here with us. I would request, yes, so Dr. Neeta Deshpande, welcome to the stage. I would request Sandeep to welcome her with on behalf of our center. Say goodbye to Shri Bhyrappa. Let's give him a big round of applause. Okay. We have a couple of more cerebral speakers, if I may say so, further in this program. So I would request everybody to take their seats now. I am going to call upon Dr. M.R. Venkatesh now. Dr. Venkatesh is a fellow chartered accountant, advocate, and a renowned economist. And what we are eager to hear from him today is the economist's perspective on things that are covered in Ghatsutra. Dr. Venkatesh, over to you. Just a second, sir. We're just getting the audio sorted. Just give us half a minute. Well, unfortunately, technology is what this is. Despite all the artificial intelligence and all the advances, I think this is how we are sometimes stuck.
Am I audible now?
Okay, great. You are audible, sir. Over to you. Thank you.
So there was an international conspiracy to silence me, and they didn't succeed. So Bhyrappa ji is just left. Hasabnis ji, Mr. Karanjikar, author of the book, Dr Neeta Deshpande, who has translated it, office bearers of the Maharashtra Mandal who are organizing this program. Good evening to all of you. My apologies to Karanjikar ji that I am not able to fly down to Bangalore for some very genuine personal reasons which I explained to him. I tried the outpost to come, and it would have been a wonderful thing to be here along with Bhyrappa ji and take his blessings. But unfortunately, because of, as I said, some personal reasons are not there. Coming to the subject proper, I think Karanjikar ji has the signal service to the entire Indian establishment by writing this book and getting it translated into English. Why I emphasize on the second part is because most of our thoughts are in English. It is not in Marathi, it is not in Kannada, it is not in Tamil. We may pride ourselves in being Tamilian, Kannadiga or Marathi, but our thoughts are always in English. So we are more English than the Englishmen. So in translating it, probably he has done the biggest service in writing the book. So it is a double, so I will put it the two congratulations, one on writing and one on translating. So he has raised some very serious, and that many of us have been haunted. I would say that when you wake up at 2:15 a.m. and you see the watch and you start the spitting and you think about these questions. And he has raised one very fundamental question: who is this US Federal Reserve? What is this monster? In fact, there is a title of the book, that peculiar creature from Jekyll Island. I think the name of the book is precisely that. And they say that US Federal, there is nothing called federal. It is an amalgamation of 12 banks which go on to form the US Federal Reserve System. And who are the owners of these 12 banks? Are like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and Chase, JP Morgan, Chase and others. So in my book, Retaining Balance, I had traced one very interesting thing. You can have a Democratic president or a Republican president. And our 9 p.m. Anchors may debate what would be the big difference between having a Republican president or the a Democratic president. But the Treasury Secretary is always Goldman Sachs. That is a constant. It is almost a given for the last 15, 20, 30 years that somewhere down the line that the Goldman Sachs sends it, Treasury Secretary, whosoever comes to power in US. And a couple of weeks back, I was watching a movie about JFK's assassination. And Karanjikar ji has touched upon it by a remarkable coincidence about JFK's assassination being linked to the US Federal Reserve System. And these are things that even in the US, I had echelons of academic circles. These are subjects that are not being debated. These are not being discussed. These are discussed only in the closet between two people in hushed silence. So what he has done, he has opened a Pandora's box by asking why did the Titanic sink? And what was the reason that it was sunk? He doesn't say it sank. It did sink all by itself. It was being sunk because of certain reasons. So these are questions that probably we need to ask ourselves. And in one of the most fundamental questions that we in economics ask, what is the value of the dollar? and how is it sustaining itself? And the first person in last 20-25 years to ask it in a very serious manner, and the real economist in the last 20-25 years happens to be Saddam Hussein. Believe it or not, Saddam Hussein asked a fundamental question: why is it that when an Iraqi sells oil to India, India doesn't pay him in rupee or in Iraqi dinar, but it is to be traded in dollar? Sir, brinjal ka bhav jo hai, you will go to Philippines, it will be in Philippines local rupee or local currency. When you come to India, it will be in rupee. When you go to Pakistan, it will be in Pakistan rupee. But when it comes to crude oil, why is it that it is always in dollar? And why is it always traded in the two sides of the Atlantic Ocean, one in London and one in New York? You may be selling it from Iran, you may be selling it from Iraq, you may be selling it from Venezuela, from Russia, from any plot, to any other part of the world. But why is it denominated in dollars? The petrodollar recycling economic was what he was objecting to. And the UN put a sanction on it and said, for oil only. And he said, so be it, I will start selling oil in a place called Tukos. You come with Japanese, take my oil. You come with Indian rupee, take my oil. You come with Indonesian rupiah, you take my oil. I am selling for my particular people, or for their food, for their medicines, for their well-being. I am selling oil, my currency. So what? I don't want to sell it. US markets in dollars. Weapons of mass destruction. Immediately people said weapons of mass destruction. जिस कंट्री में स्कूटर नहीं बनती थी, they were supposed to make atom bombs, nuclear bombs, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, and then sell it 6,000 kilometers away into US and hit them. This is how the whole international agency was rigged, and Saddam was destroyed. Not that I am speaking anything about Saddam, what he did. I am not to the political side. I am into the economist Saddam Hussein. And what happened finally was, on Vaikunta Ekadashi day, a Christian nation ensured that the Muslim leader was hanged to death at 4 a.m. And he actually attained Swarga. So Saddam Hussein came to Swarga because of US. This is something you must understand. It's very ironic. They have put him into the gallows on the Vaikunta Ekadashi. So coming to this protection of the dollar frightens me, because it is issued by somebody who is unknown. Who are the owners or shareholders of these companies, we don't know. Exact ownership is unknown. And you can trace some of the banks in India whose ownership is unknown. And that is why I always say that we require Economic Intelligence Bureau. An Economic Intelligence Bureau has to not do this typical IB work, partly policing and partly gathering information about politics or politicians. We require an Economic Intelligence Bureau which will look into several other aspects of how suddenly an onion price goes up in India, in parts of India, all in tandem. How futures markets are linked in cotton. These are things that aberrates me. And there is definitely a hand which is linked to the foreign international markets. And we, in the name of globalization, have allowed these things to happen. And Indians को चुप करने के लिए एक ही बात बोल रहा है. International, global, emerging global order, globalization. Whether we do not know whether it is with SATION or ZATION. सब कुछ चलता है. The moment you say it is international and you speak in English preferably without a mustache, then it's more or less settled that you are doing some human service to this country. We will never be put into any scrutiny. That's why I also removed my mustache nowadays. And I want to see that I will be more powerful now. See, this is the problem and challenge that anybody in chaste English without mustache puts quite a few times about international orders. We do not know how IMF works. What is the type of scrutiny that goes on in IMF? In fact, in the Asian crisis, somewhere which broke in 1997, June, July, Michael Kamadesu was the IMF chief then. Just a month back, in May 1997, he goes on to say that the Asian countries, especially the Far East Asian countries, are miracle economies. There is a pejorative term. Actually, miracle economies means, you know, I am surprised that this fellow has got a bungalow. I am surprised this fellow has got a car. You know, you use the word miracle in a more pejorative sense. And that is what he said. And all this country collapsed within 6 weeks to 8 weeks later. Why did IMF allow countries to do these things that they were doing and giving clean chits and telling that they were all growing far beyond the pace at which they were growing? There is a huge link to what Karanjikar ji says and what has happened. I call Karanjikar's work routine progress. It is not a completed work. It is like Mahatma Gandhi's, you can't say it's complete works of Mahatma Gandhi. You have to say incomplete works of Karanjikar. And Karanjikar ji, you have to write a sequel to this and gather all these things. No, because we use the terms very loosely. And we don't even understand the full meaning. Let me give you one more example, which I was discussing with Karanjikar ji this afternoon. I found, to my horror, the word discovery, something frighteningly simple. Frighteningly simple because discovery means there is something there for the media. I discovered a pot of gold in my garden. And to a sculptor, he sees a murti inside a rock and he does sculpting and here comes a murti. He discovers a murti. But this is my understanding of English till I read Discovery of India by Nehru. Discovery of India by Nehru is, I went to the root of the word discovery. The word discovery is used when Columbus goes discovering America. Vasco da Gama comes discovering India. The word discovery means a right given by a papal bull, by the Pope, that to say, जिस country को आपने discover कर लिया वो आपका है. It is, discovery is used as something as a right, not something that you find. It is something that you get it as a right. And that is why Belgians came to India, Dutch came to India, Portuguese, Spanish, French, and then finally the British. These people came after the 14th or the 15th century in search of India, in search of various places, and through a papal route. These are all things that have tremendous influence on us. And that is why today, Bhyrappa ji speaking Kannada, it is in Maharashtra Mandal, none of you speak in Marathi, and being a Tamilian expert speak in Tamil. So we are all speaking still in English, which is a leftover of the British. And I call both English language and the Constitution of India the Trojan horse left behind by the British to see that a complete surveillance on India. The Constitution of India has nothing to do with India. It is the most un-Indian document ever written in the history of 5,000-year history of India. And unfortunately, we are still celebrating the Constitution of India. 26th November went a few days back. Everybody has to, in Sarkar, everybody has to go and say that, you know, ये बहुत महान काम हुआ है, महान लोगों की छाप है इसमें. Everybody has to pay rich economy. Without realizing there was nothing Indian about it. Who said this? The person who writing the book on Lokmanya Tilak, and only a Marathi could have thought about something called Purna Swaraj, and only a Purna Swaraj is still awaiting at this point in time, because we are controlled, we are monitored, we are kept under complete surveillance by a system which is pan-global. And what Karanjikar ji has done has to show some parts of it. It is not that he has done all the works and he has said no. He has taken several issues issues of the last 100 years. These are the dangers. He has put the dots. Had this book been written in America, Karanjikar ji, please understand, the entire establishment would have either thought to finish you, or they would have celebrated this book as some sort of a great work of 21st century. Unfortunately, in this country, we are keeping it, at another. It's not at another one. I'm told there are people from the army also, and I would request them also that this book has to be read by the army intelligence several times over. Because there is nothing called military industrial complex. There is military industrial economic complex. That all the three should together. In some capacity, I will try to see whether I can organize the release of this book in Chennai. And I will try to see. Nowadays, I don't come out of my house for a variety of reasons. I have secluded myself to writing of other book, Discovery of Bharat. I'm secluded nowadays. I just go to the court and spend much time. But let me see if I can organize some release of this book. And I thank you, sir, that you have done a signal service to all of us. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Venkatesh, for those insights. Where all of the esteemed guests here can talk really long. There is so much in it, and then the insights that these gentlemen bring is something which is really great. Thanks for your time, Dr. Venkatesh, despite the medical emergency at home. Thank you so much. Now is the time to hear from Lieutenant General Hasabnis, who is the most appropriate person to shine a light for us on how a military mind approaches the intriguing subject covered by Ghatsutra. General, sir.
सगळ्यांना सर्वप्रथम नमस्कार. माननीय भैरप्पाजी नाही आहेत, पण त्यांना व्यासपीठावर बसलेल्या मान्यवरांना अभिवादन. सर्वप्रथम तुम्हा दोघांनाही खूप खूप अभिनंदन. खूप मोठं काम तुम्ही हाती घेतलं. 7 वर्षाचे परिश्रम करून पुस्तक कंप्लीट केलं, त्याच्याबद्दल खूप खूप अभिनंदन. आवडलं असतं मराठीत बोलायला, पण मला सांगितलं गेलं होतं की इंग्लिशमध्येच बोला म्हणून. या दीपक इज द कल्प्रिट. So Deepak, let me start with a confession. मला माझ्या एका मित्राने विचारलं की will you be ready to do this function? I'll send you a gist of the book. So I read through it, and I'm sure you have heard this word earlier also, that the idea being put forth sounds very preposterous, and I also felt so on my first read of the gist that was sent to me. However, given the nature of the book and my having been called here, I thought let me also do some research, and went into the net and looked up the idea that was mentioned about the treasury. And I was quite astonished to read that the US Treasury, as per the wiki, is neither a public entity nor a private entity. So it says that it reports the Congress, and as was brought out very aptly by a previous speaker, there are 12 banks and they are all private. So it intrigued me and it made me realize that there is much more in this idea than meets the casual eye. The scenario painted by Deepak in the book is scary, if not, I can't find a different word for it. Because it has always been the case that economic control always slips into power over the entire being of whether it's an individual or, in this case, like it's been mentioned, the world. It has serious, very serious implications on the economic development of various nations, which lead to ultimately impinging on their national security and their national interest. To me, the very idea behind this book is basically a wake-up call for our national hierarchy to read and to be aware that there could be something more than meets the eye. In fact, only recently, I was reading a book written by Michael Filbury. The name of the book is The 100-Year Marathon. It is, the basic theme of the book is how China has formulated a plan for decades now, and it's following it, to become the world leader, leaving behind the US, both in economic power as well as in the military power. The book sheds a light on how the World Bank went against its own very norms, one of which is to not only upliftment of the world as is stated, but to ensure openness, liberty. This bank deliberately, its officers, closed their eyes towards the socialist progression of China. In fact, what happened behind doors was not even allowed to get to the president. It has been stated in that book. Mr. Clinton was totally unaware that the World Bank was misleading the world into believing that the Chinese were going to open up their economy and going to privatize what was not at all being planned for by the Chinese. So that I thought, probably, how does this link? If the treasury of the US is controlled by a few families, the World Bank is primarily supported by the US, funds from the US treasury. So definitely, the US treasury, and therefore these families probably, have levers of control over the World Bank also. And as has been brought out in the book, the very idea of communism has been propagated by these families to ensure that they retain control through a limited number of people over even the communist world. It's really something which is scary, if nothing else. In fact, I'd like to read from this book a small paragraph. And I quote, "The bank made 6 recommendations in private, not revealing them to the outside world." This is the World Bank that is being spoken of. Because they were politically sensitive. And the decision to endorse the Chinese socialist approach that was making no genuine effort to advocate true market economy. President Clinton apparently did not even know about this debate on whether China should move towards a free market or a private economy. So this is what gave me a lot of reason to think that there is a lot of merit in what is the primary theme of Ghatsutra. We have been, I will now, turn our attention to our national security, national interest. National security is hugely impacted by 2 major factors. One is the defense preparedness, and 2, maybe even more important, is the men behind the machines that we use, we need. Over the last few decades, India has been hugely dependent on Russia. In fact, we went into the Russian camp out of compulsion at a point of time. While I was in service, it was a very well-known fact that about 80% of our equipment, starting from as small a thing as a socks, up to our tanks, guns, aircraft, ships, all used to come from Russia. So we were so deeply dependent on them. Either we got a completely assembled, manufactured item delivered to us, or maybe some sub-assemblies in a knockdown state were procured by our public sector undertakings. Mind you, private sector was not allowed into the defense sector till very recently, maybe last, definitely not just in last 10 years, maybe about 15, 16 years back, the first time we really started realizing that the private sector, unless brought into the defense manufacturing ecosystem, we will not reach anywhere in our self-sufficiency. So, today, what has happened? Russia is at war. All its energies are today converged onto delivering the material required for that war waging. There's a huge sanctions regime that has been instituted against them, and therefore they can't either manufacture because they don't get some of the components, parts that they require, and export to those countries which were their primary buyers. We are equally affected by that. In fact, like I said, if it was 80% maybe 5 years ago, it may be 75% today that our equipment dependency on Russian equipment. Spares is something which is so critical for military equipment. That's dried up. So much so that the Russians today are asking us for spares for their equipment. They are asking us to manufacture spares. And I'm sure our private industry has now stepped in with the public sector, and overall our national endeavor would be to ensure that whatever we can, we will deliver. In fact, just today I was reading that the Russians are now asking us to manufacture drones for them, which has a silver lining, mind you, that we will manufacture, we will also get their technology for free. I hope that is what happens. Technology development doesn't happen overnight, especially military technology. It requires a long time. It requires huge amounts of money to be spent. I mean, the US R&D budget probably is more than our defense budget. The Chinese R&D budget is probably 1/3 of our defense budget. And that's the amount of money that people are spending on research and development. That's how they are in the front, leading from the front in various technologies. So we have opened our doors for the private sector, and we have tremendous amount of potential. Just the other day, our Prime Minister flew in a Tejas. It's a indigenous aircraft. Although when we say indigenous, it has no country can manufacture 100% its equipment indigenously. It has to have parts, ideas, components which have to come from others. Tejas, I'm sure, also has similar constraints. But the very fact that the basic design is Indian, the IP of that aircraft is Indian. Now, a problem is going to be how fast can we manufacture? Because we are still stuck with only one manufacturer in the aircraft industry. So we are now under tremendous pressure. I am only hopeful that no criticality along the borders develops in the times to come. Because there is a lag behind the decision to really take this developmental route to its conclusion and being able to become self-sufficient. The Prime Minister has enunciated Atmanirbharta. It happened, fortunately, just before, a few months before the Russians invaded Ukraine. That's a very major step that has been taken. We have now been banned from import of a large number of equipment which is critical to us. But we've been told, the military has been told, that you will only buy Indian-made equipment. So there is going to be a time, a painful time, when we may be short of equipment. But our chiefs, all three chiefs, have always stated, and very confidently they have stated, that we will fight with what we have. And this confidence comes from the men, the soldiers that we have in our armies, in our military, not just the army, navy, air force, coast guard, everywhere. So just to highlight the mettle of our troops, I am going to take you on a small journey. This is the year 1962. The Chinese belligerents have started increasing along the borders, and our troops have been ordered to go and occupy as far forward as possible to show our claim on our territory. We have heard of Galwan. How many of you would say they have heard of the place called Galwan in 2020? Okay, yeah, thank you. So Galwan was in the news in 2020. One platoon, which is about 30 men, of the Gorkhas was sent to Galwan in 1962, somewhere in the middle of 1962. Their commanding officer took that platoon there and placed them there, told the platoon commander, look, you occupy the features around here, because defensive features are always on higher reaches, higher altitudes. Galwan Valley, mind you, is 17,000 feet plus. It's unless you've been to some altitudes, you really don't get a grasp of what it means to be at that altitude. Anyway, as the CO left them, came back across two very treacherous ridge lines to his headquarters, the Chinese, who were already in that area, started closing in on these Gurkhas from all directions. Seeing that, the platoon commander ordered his 3 sections of about 10 men each to go into 3 different directions as far as possible and stop where they came close to the Chinese. They went somewhere, they were as close as 10 meters from the Chinese, and they stopped. The Chinese, these guys, we have all heard, our men then were equipped with the very old technology 303 rifle, bolt action 303 rifle, a World War vintage weapon. Our clothing was nowhere near the clothing required for such altitudes. And here, in front of them, are the Chinese were fully decked, fully ready for the weather conditions there, have automatic weapons, and they're showing them those weapons. So these Gurkhas, they were being told that you are a brethren, we don't have anything against you, you go back. But despite knowing where they were, they didn't move from there. Under this circumstance, my father and his Jat company were ordered to relieve this Gorkha platoon. The only way they could go in was by choppers. So every trip a chopper would do, 2 to 3 men would be taken in. So the Gurkhas were being brought out and the Jats were being taken in. My father's company comprised 60 soldiers, and our state of affairs was so bad, out of those 60, 20 did not have even weapons. What to talk of quality of weapons, they did not have weapons. The ammunition that they had would have given them a capability to fight maybe 15 to 30 minutes. That's all the ammunition that they had, and they are landing in a fully surrounded locality. So as these men are being sent up as they are landing, they are sent to various posts to relieve the Gurkhas who are being flown out. So when my father would go around to see how his men are and what are they doing and giving them orders of preparing their defenses and things like that, they would say to him, because it was very, very evident, it was in their eyes, that साहब हमें तो यहाँ बकरे की तरह बांधा गया है. So they knew that they have death facing them right in front, and this was not a 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute type of a deployment. They didn't know how long it's going to last. Orders to them not to open fire unless fired upon, because from across, Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai was being played out continuously. Anyway, this happened till 19th of October. Everything was being airdropped to them. Much of what was airdropped would land into the Chinese held territory. Hundreds of Chinese from all around, whereas these guys were just 60. These localities where they were deployed. Some were not even visible from the headquarter location where my father was. So on 20th of October at 5:30, the Chinese opened up with all their weapons. It was automatics, it was artillery, all sorts of weapons started firing suddenly. And they started attacking. Surely the Jats also responded equally from the trenches that they had dug. Trenches, this was permafrost. I'm sure we all understand what permafrost is. They had to put kerosene, which was airdrop, onto a cloth that they had, burn it so that the top portion would loosen up a little, then they would be able to dig out a little. By the time the Chinese attacked, there were just 2 feet of trenches that had been dug. You can well understand what was 2 feet of a trench from where they could have defended themselves. But no one, right through the time that they were there, neither the Gorkhas nor the Jats, not one man ever came back to my father to say, "Sahab, hame wapas bhej do." There were helicopters going back every day. As they were being brought in, Gorkhas were being taken out, there were helicopters going back, but not one Jawan said to him, "Sahab, hame yahan se nikalo, wapas bhej." I am proud to be part of that organization. And I am proud to say that even today, our officers lead from the front. Our officers, we just recently heard of the clash that took place in Rajouri area, where we lost 3 officers. Because it is ingrained in us that wherever it is the most critical, most dangerous, the officer has to lead. Therefore, we are leaders because we lead from the front. We lead by example. So these are the men who have earned the goodwill of this nation through every act of theirs. Every battle they have fought, the way they have fought, despite all the constraints that they have had on them. So we can all today, I am also now out of the army, we can all today rest easy, be comfortable in what we are doing, because there are these men who are standing guard. I would request and say this, that the only way we can really pay tribute to these mad chaps is by doing what we do to the best of our capabilities in the most ethical manner. That's all that I have to say. I'm really hopeful that bars that we read this book, because there are some very serious and very powerful messages that are being put across. And I'm seriously hopeful that bars that we read and take lessons from this and accordingly look at our national security in a manner that we don't get entrapped in what has been so far happening around us. Once again, thank you Deepak for having called me. Thank you Neeta ji. And महाराष्ट्र मंडळाला खूप खूप शतक होऊन गेले. अशी शतक अजूनही इथे महाराष्ट्र मंडळ उन्नती करत राहू आणि खूप बरं वाटलं इथे येऊन. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद.
Thank you, sir. Indians, in particular Maharashtrians, have always had this fascination about the men in uniform, like yourself, sir. A great deal of respect and affection already exists anyway, but when a person like you starts talking in Marathi, obviously that's like the affection is multiplied. Thanks for your interesting insights into Russians now buying military equipment from India, telling us about the increasing private sector investment in defense sector, and stories of bravery of the Gorkha soldiers. Thank you so much for coming and your presence here. Now that we have heard all our guests for this evening, it's time to invite the translator. Because as someone very wise once said, translators are the shadow heroes of literature, the often forgotten instruments that make it possible for different cultures to talk to one another, who have enabled us to understand that we all, from every part of the world, live in one world. Dr. Neeta Deshpande is a consultant diabetologist and obesity physician, professor of medicine and medical director, Centra Care Super Specialty Hospital and Medical Research Center. She has been in practice for the last 30 years and lives in Belgavi. She is a prolific orator, an avid researcher and academician, having published and presented research papers in peer-reviewed national and international journals. She has co-authored several textbooks on diabetes and obesity. Her particular areas of research and clinical expertise are in the field of lifestyle modification to reverse obesity, diabetes, and other metabolic disorders. She is a key opinion leader in the country in obesity and diabetes and is on the advisory board of several medical bodies. She has been interviewed and been on national television on issues related to diabetes and obesity. Now, all of us, I'm sure, must be wondering, how come a diabetologist came to translate this book? So that is what we are very keen to hear from you, Dr. Neeta. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, the office bearers of Maharashtra Bandar, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll answer your question in one line actually. We were at the launch of this book a couple of months back in Chennai, and Shri Guru Murthy was the one who released the book over there. And we were on stage and I was sitting next to him, and he looked at the book, the front, the back, and he said, "You must be a crazy doctor." So that kind of sums it up, that yes, it was a crazy act when I said yes to Deepak ji that I shall do it. Actually what happened was, I just translated the first chapter just for fun, just to see and test my linguistic skills, if you will. And I sent it to Deepak, and he said, "Now you do the whole book." And that's how it all began. And let me tell you, the journey wasn't easy for two reasons. One is that Deepak's language is fantastically high in Marathi, and my Marathi is a little more than basic, so I had to work on my Marathi as well. And the second part, of course, was the delay started to happen because of my grueling schedules in diabetes and obesity. But one fine day, I was given an ultimatum that it has to finish in this 1 month. And I had to say yes, and then we finally did it, and the book came out. So, my purpose of standing here today in front of you is, yes, to tell you my journey about the translation. This is the first book I've ever translated. But I'm here to tell you why you should read this book. Because I am like most of you, who I guess are no wizards at finance, economics, politics, none of that. It never has been my forte. But once I started to read this book, I realized that there is a lot to know in this world, and if we exist, we should know. And that was the premise that took me forward in my journey on this book, And as I began to read and translate, a whole new world opened up in front of me. And I'm sure that if you read the book, this same world is going to open. And what hit me hard was all of these conspiracies, or I wouldn't call them conspiracies, all of these plots took place in an era when there was no internet, there was no fake news, everything was real, and that is when all of this happened, all of these intricacies and politics and fraud, if I may call it, all of this happened when there was no one to spread any such news. The problem is that the onus on us is even more at this point of time, because we have to view everything with suspicion as it is. That's what this book taught me, that never take anything at its face value. You have to be suspicious of everything. Honestly, that's not a very nice way to live, but that's where we are. So if you had to look at everything with suspicion then, now it's going to be that much more difficult, because you are going to read a lot of fake news. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie The Vaccine War, which has just come out. And in that, it literally tells you how fake news is made to sound real. And there's a process, there is a system in place to actually make fake news look normal. And with that being the case, and conspiracies abounding everywhere around us, we need to be aware, because this can affect us even in our daily personal lives at levels which we cannot even imagine. And that's the reason that I feel that every single person, a citizen of India, should read this, because although this book is about world affairs, these world affairs are going to affect us. Our esteemed previous speaker told us about Russia, told us about China. Mr. Venkatesh also talked to us about all of that. So unless we have a grip over the world affairs, how on earth are we going to understand how these are going to affect us here in India? So that is the reason that everything has to be seen in toto and viewed with suspicion at that, and make sense out of all of that and be aware and be careful. So the second thing that the book taught me was that nothing is logical in this world. Everything completely defies logic. That's what I learned from the book. So this will make for very happy reading. It will make for very thrilling reading. It will make for sometimes distressing reading, and sometimes downright sad. Especially when we heard about how our soldiers are there in the, up front over there and helping us to stay in peace. You will read in this book how so many soldiers went because of some conspiracy and they didn't really need to be there. And these people have lost their lives. So there are so many other things to learn from this book, but I am sure that when you go through this, you will wonder what hit you. As I said, as the previous speaker also said, it may sound very preposterous in the beginning, almost that this cannot be and the world can't be so bad, but there is proof. There is a lot of things written in there which will convince you, which will make you understand. And as Deepak ji must have told you, it is not meant to convince you. It is meant to make you think. You can think for yourself. You can look at the facts, think for yourself and make your own theories. So that is what it is. My small little contribution to the book is my inputs to Deepak ji on the last chapter, and that is on the COVID part. So a lot of what has been written and the inputs that I have given for COVID and the conspiracies that abounded at that time, you will also see in the movie that I just alluded to. So this makes for very interesting reading. It is a book like no other that you will ever have read, that much I promise you. So I urge all of you to soldier on through the 700 or 800 pages, because it is a test in endurance of your reading, but I'm sure you will enjoy it. and I hope that you will like the book, you will read it with a lot of interest and give feedback to Deepak ji on what you have read. I am sure he's also talked to you about his forthcoming books and how interesting those will be also. So thank you very much for having me here and listening to me even at the fag end of this function. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Neeta. After an illuminating couple of hours, hearing about the astonishingly complex, perplexing world around us, captured by Ghatsutra, and listening to the insights from our eminent guests, we have come to the end of this program. A gentle reminder to everyone that the Ghatsutra English edition is available for sale today at a special discounted price of 600 rupees only. Do take the benefit of this opportunity on your way out. I would now call upon Shri Sandeep Limay to propose a vote of thanks. But at the same time, Sandeep, I would also request you to hand over a small gift on behalf of Maharashtra Mandal to both the author and the translator as a token of our appreciation and Mandal's friendship with you.
Okay, all dignitaries on dais and my friends, we all face a lot of news, lot of information, lot of changes and dynamic environment. After this show, don't we all feel that we should have such more and more of such shows which awaken us from inside. So, on behalf of Maharashtra Mandal and Mr. Deepak Karanjikar, I stand here to give a vote of thanks. A wonderful event it was, isn't it? And we all at Mandal are honored to have such eminent personalities, masters of their respective fields with us today. Rarely we get such a chance to meet, listen to, or even interact with such guru personalities. In today's times, when we all are continuously bombarded with tons of information from all directions, leaving our brains in a kind of paralyzed situation where, we are unable to decide, conclude, or even act on anything. Sheer presence of such personalities brings in a different level of awareness, wraps us in a sheath of assurance where we get reconnected to human values and a solid hope for tomorrow. Padma Bhushan Shri S L Bhyrappa ji, Lieutenant General Sudarshan Hasabnis ji, Dr. M R Venkatesh ji, we sincerely thank you all for being, guest for today's event. Dr. Neeta Deshpande ji and and Deepak Karanjikar ji, on behalf of Maharashtra Mandal, I thank both of you as well. And of course, you as audience, what a wonderful audience. Spared your Sunday evening, that too in a city like Bangalore, which is difficult, And yeah, so a big thanks to all of you for joining in today and making it a great success. Thank you, Deepak, and over to you.
Joe, we are done. Thanks all for coming. Good night.
Can you make this book into an audio book where we can listen?
Yeah,